tonight we aren't creating something to last forever. We're stepping into a world where the greatest works of art are built to vanish, to disappear on a breath of smoke. In our modern age, we are obsessed with permanence, with things that can be saved, shared, and stored for eternity. But in the quiet mountains of ancient Japan, a different kind of mastery existed. The art of crafting a single, perfect, fleeting moment. It's a philosophy that challenges everything we think we know about value and purpose. For those of you who appreciate these quiet journeys into the past, I hope you'll consider subscribing. Each story is a small offering, a moment of peace to share. And for a little interaction tonight, I have a question for you to ponder as you drift off. What is the most powerful scent you can remember, and what memory does it bring back for you? Leave a comment below if you feel like sharing. I love reading how a simple fragrance can unlock a whole world for someone. But for now, it's time to let go of all of that. Find a comfortable position. Let your body grow heavy, sinking into the surface beneath you. Feel the tension release from your jaw, your shoulders, your hands. Take a slow, deep breath in, filling your lungs with calm, quiet air. And as you exhale, release the day. Let it drift away like a cloud, leaving only stillness behind. Another deep breath in, and a long, slow breath out. Your only task now is to listen, to feel, to be present in the story that unfolds. The forest breath is the first thing you feel when you awaken. It is not the clean, crisp air you might imagine. It is heavy, cool, and ancient, carrying the scent of 1,000 years of wet earth, of decomposing leaves, of damp cedar bark, and the deep, mineral smell of stone. It slips through the tiny gaps in the paper of your shoji screen, a morning visitor that arrives long before the sun. You lie still for a moment on your simple futon, which rests directly on the tatami floor. Your bones, after so many seasons, have learned to ache with the morning chill, a quiet, persistent reminder of your age. There is no central heating here, no button to press for warmth. The small central hearth, the airori, holds only grey, cold ash from the night before, its fire deliberately allowed to die to conserve precious charcoal. The cold is not an enemy to be fought, but a simple fact of life on this mountain, a companion to the dawn. You rise slowly, your movements economical, owned by a lifetime of solitary ritual. You don't rush. There is nothing to rush toward. Your joints protest with a soft series of cracks and pops, a morning chorus you have come to know well. You slide on a simple, dark blue samu, a working robe of coarse, homespun cotton. The fabric is rough against your skin, not soft like modern clothes, but it is durable and insulated, designed for a life of kneeling on floors and walking through overgrown woods. Its purpose is function, not comfort, and you appreciate its honesty. You do not think of food. Your stomach is quiet, accustomed to waiting. Instead, you glide silently across the cool tatami mats of your small workshop. Your feet, bare and calloused, know every imperfection in the woven straw. The room is a study in shadows and order. In the faint, pre-dawn light, you can just make out the shapes of your life's work, stone mortars and pestles worn smooth with use. Wooden shelves lined with ceramic jars holding mysterious powders and dried herbs, and long, flat trays waiting for their fragile cargo. The air inside is a complex library of scents, the ghost of sandalwood, the faintest hint of cloves, the deep, resinous perfume of aloeswood that seems to have soaked into the very beams of the ceiling. It is a quiet, sleeping scent, a stark contrast to the wild, living breath of the forest outside. With a soft wooden groan, you slide open the heavy panel door that leads outside. The mist is a living thing. It rolls into the doorway, swirling around your ankles, cool and damp against your skin. It is not a gentle fog, but a thick, mountain shroud that obscures the world, making your small workshop feel like the only solid place on earth. The great cedar and pine trees that ring your clearing are just tall, dark phantoms in the gray. The only sound is the steady, rhythmic drip, drip, drip of condensation falling from the heavy pine needles onto the moss-covered ground below. This is the hour of stillness, the moment between the quiet of the night and the slow awakening of the day. And it is time for your walk. You slip your feet into a pair of worn waraji, simple sandals woven from rice straw. They are flimsy by any modern standard, offering little protection, but you are not looking for protection. You are looking to feel the earth. You pick up a long, smooth walking staff of polished bamboo, its surface cool and familiar in your palm, and step out into the mist. You are not a visitor here. You are Kenji, the kachush, the incense blender. This forest is your pantry, your sanctuary, and your oldest teacher. The path is not really a path at all. It is a memory, etched into the landscape and into your own mind. There are no signs, no cleared ground. It is an understanding you have with the forest, a route marked by a curiously bent maple, sapling you first noticed as a boy, a cluster of 3 granite boulders that look like sleeping animals, a fallen cypress so immense that it has become a bridge over a dry creek bed. To anyone else, it would be an impenetrable wilderness. To you, it is a map of your entire life. You walk slowly, deliberately. This isn't a hike for exercise, it is a form of meditation, a moving conversation. Your straw sandals make almost no sound on the thick carpet of damp moss and fallen needles. The ground is soft and spongy, absorbing the sound of your steps. You use your staff not just for balance on the uneven terrain, but to feel the world ahead of you, tapping it against rocks and roots, listening to the solid thunk it makes. You stop often, not to catch your breath, but simply to be still. To listen. The forest is never truly silent. There is the drip of water, the gentle rustle of a small creature in the undergrowth, the sigh of the wind as it moves through the invisible canopy high above the mist. Your focus is on something else entirely. You are listening with your nose. You close your eyes and breathe in, letting the cool, heavy air fill your lungs. You begin to dissect the overwhelming smell of the forest, breaking it down into its component parts, just as you will later do with your ingredients. There is the sharp, clean scent of crushed pine needles underfoot. Beneath that, the deep, loamy aroma of rich, black soil. There is the musty, almost mushroom-like smell of decay, the vital and necessary process of old life feeding new. And woven through it all, the sweet, resinous perfume of the cypress trees, the true kings of this mountain. Your master's voice, though he has been gone for 20 winters, returns to you as it often does in these woods. Do not just smell Kenji, he would say, his voice as rough as bark. Listen to the scent. Each one has a story. The moss tells of patience. The pine tells of resilience. The fallen leaf tells of letting go. Akashi is not a mixer of powders. He is a storyteller. You open your eyes. It is time to gather the words for today's story. Your first stop is a place of profound respect. A great Hinoki cypress, a titan that was likely ancient when your own grandfather was born, lies on the forest floor, toppled by a typhoon many seasons ago. You never take from a living tree. It is a core principle. Life is for living, but in its rest, this great giant offers a gift. You kneel beside its massive trunk, the bark cold and wet against your knees. From a small cotton pouch at your waist, you retrieve a small, incredibly sharp knife. The blade is dark and worn, the wooden handle smooth and grooved from the shape of your hand. You don't hack or tear at the bark. You select a small section where the outer layers have begun to peel away naturally. With surgical precision, you slide the tip of your blade underneath and gently, carefully, peel back a long, thin strip. The moment the inner bark is exposed to the air, a scent blossoms around you. It is breathtakingly clean and sharp, with notes of lemon and deep forest green. It smells of purity, of clarity. To a modern nose, it might smell like a cleaning product, an artificial attempt to capture this very essence. But this is the source. This is the reality. It fills your senses, and you close your eyes for a moment, savoring it. You place the fragrant strip into your woven gathering basket, a quiet thank you offered to the spirit of the tree. You take only a little, what you need for a single batch. The forest is generous, but it is not infinite. You continue on your path, moving deeper into the woods as the mist begins to thin, admitting the first weak, grey light of the morning. Your next ingredient requires you to look down, to pay attention to the small and the humble. You come to a clearing where massive granite boulders, speckled with lichen and shrouded in moss, punctuate the landscape. They are immense and silent, feeling impossibly ancient. You kneel again, this time on the cold, damp earth beside one of these stones. You are looking for a very specific type of moss. Not the feathery, light green kind, but a deep, velvety, almost black, green variety that grows in dense cushions, clinging tightly to the rock face. You run your fingers over it. It's cool to the touch and holds the dampness of the mist like a sponge. Pulling a small, flat, edged bamboo scraper from your pouch, you begin to harvest. Again, your movements are gentle. You don't scrape the rock bare. You collect small tufts from several different stones, leaving the vast majority of the colony undisturbed to continue its slow, patient life. You bring a pinch of it to your nose. The smell is utterly different from the cypress. It is the scent of the earth itself, of whetstone, of shade, of deep, quiet places where the sun rarely reaches. It is a grounding scent, a scent of humility. It will not be the primary note in your incense, but a deep, foundational whisper that speaks of stillness. Into the basket it goes, resting beside the cypress bark. The sun is a little higher now. Patches of pale blue sky are visible through the thinning canopy. Beams of silver light slant down through the remaining mist, illuminating the floating spores and tiny insects dancing in the air. It is in one of these beams of light that you see it, a glint of gold on the dark trunk of an old growth pine tree. Your heart gives a quiet flutter of excitement, the calm joy of discovery. This is what you were hoping to find. You leave the path and make your way toward the ancient tree, its bark a cracked, rugged landscape. There, oozing from a long, healed wound in its side, are several large, tear-shaped drops of hardened resin. It is the tree's solidified lifeblood, its healing scar, gifted to the world as a jewel of solidified scent. To you, this pine resin, this Matsuyani, is more precious than gold. Unlike the bark and the moss, this is a gift that requires no tool but your own fingers. You gently work one of the amber, colored nodules free from the bark. It's hard but slightly tacky, and the moment it warms in your palm, it releases its soul. The fragrance is immense, sharp, and powerful, a stark contrast to the subtlety of the moss. It smells of sunlight, of vast wilderness, of the sharp, clean air of the high mountains. It's an invigorating, uplifting scent, a scent that speaks of survival and strength. You can almost smell the memory of the lightning strike or falling branch that wounded the tree, and the decades of slow, patient healing that produced this fragrant balm. You carefully place the resinous tears into a small, lidded ceramic jar you carry for this very purpose, protecting it from the other ingredients. With your basket holding its 3 treasures, you turn back. The walk home is different. The sun is now casting long, gentle shadows across the forest floor. The world is waking up. A bird calls from a high branch, its song clear and sharp in the clean air. The mist has all but vanished, burned away by the morning, and the forest you walk through now is the same one, yet entirely transformed. You see the vibrant greens, the rich browns, the textures of bark and stone that were previously hidden in the gray. As you walk, your mind turns from gathering to creating. You look down into your basket. You see the rough, fibrous strip of cypress bark. You see the soft, dark cushion of moss. You can smell the sharp tang of the pine resin even through the closed jar. They are disconnected. They are chaos. The cypress shouts of clean purity. The moss whispers of damp stillness. The pine sings of bright resilience. They are three distinct, powerful voices, each a perfect expression of its own nature. Right now, they are just a collection of fragments from the woods. They are tangible things you can hold in your hand. But they are not yet incense. They are not yet a prayer. Your work, your art, is not simply to grind them together. Any fool can do that. Your work is to find the harmony within this chaos. It is to act as a peacemaker, a choir master for the wild voices of the forest. You must persuade the sharpness of the pine to complement, not conquer, the quiet depth of the moss. You must find the precise balance where the clean elegance of the cypress can lift the other two, uniting them into a single, focused whisper. You arrive back at your clearing. Your small workshop, with its straight lines and quiet order, looks almost fragile against the backdrop of the untamed forest. You step across the threshold, sliding the door shut behind you, leaving the wild, chaotic chorus of the forest outside. Inside, in the silent, waiting air, is where the focused work of finding that single, perfect note will begin. Your journey into the forest is over. Your journey into the scent has just begun. The cool, damp breath of the forest still clings to your clothes as you slide the workshop door shut, the scent of cedar and wet moss a ghost from the morning's walk. The basket of freshly gathered materials rests by the entrance, a small treasure of barks, resins, and herbs breathing the wild chaos of the mountain into the quiet air of your home. But here, inside these four walls of aged wood, that chaos finds its end. You leave the wildness of the path behind you, stepping into a world of straight lines, patient tools, and a silence so profound it seems to hold the weight of years. The forest gives the voice, but it is here, in this small, spare room, that you will teach it how to whisper. This is the next stage of the journey, not of your feet along a trail, but of raw substance toward an ephemeral spirit. The day of preparation has begun. Your workshop is not a place of comfort, not in the way the modern world understands it. It is a single room, built of dark cedar, that has absorbed a century of mountain winters and humid summers. There is no furniture, save for a few low wooden chests for storing precious ingredients, and a simple woven mat in the corner where you sleep. Your true companions are the tools, arranged with meticulous care on low shelves. They are not decorations. Each one is an extension of your hands, worn smooth and dark with the oils of your skin and a lifetime of use. Light does not flood this space. Instead, it filters through a single shoji screen, a delicate paper partition that turns the harsh morning sun into a soft, milky glow. And in that gentle light, you can see the room's secret life. The air is never truly clear. It is alive with a constant, slow-motion blizzard of dust motes, tiny particles of fragrant woods, spices, and herbs, each one a microscopic ghost of incense made long ago. To an outsider, it might seem unclean. To you, it is the very air of your craft, the accumulated breath of your life's work. You do not begin with haste. You first sit in the center of the room, a practice of stillness that settles your mind. You close your eyes and simply breathe, inhaling the unique atmosphere of this place. It is a scent no one else on earth could ever replicate, for it has been built layer by layer, year by year. It is a complex chord of fragrances. The dominant note is wood, sandalwood's creamy sweetness, aloewood's deep resinous mystery, the sharp spice of cypress. Beneath that, you can detect the faintest hints of clove, star anise, and camphor, memories of past blends. This scent has soaked into the very grain of the wooden walls, into the packed earth of the floor, into the fibers of your own clothing. It exists because there are no sealed containers, no climate-controlled storage. The ingredients live here with you. Their essence is bleeding into the air, a constant, quiet conversation. This is why you work here in this isolated hut. To create incense, your own senses must be steeped in it, your palate constantly refined by the air you breathe. Your meditation ends, and you rise. Your movements are slow, deliberate, each a conservation of energy for the long day ahead. You walk to a heavy wooden chest in the corner, its iron fittings cool to the touch. Lifting the lid releases a more concentrated wave of fragrance. Inside, nestled in soft rice paper, are the most precious of your raw materials, the ones that have traveled the furthest. You reach past bags of fragrant cloves from distant islands and bundles of dried flower petals, your fingers searching for the heart of today's work. Your hands close around a gnarled, dark piece of wood. It is surprisingly heavy for its size, dense and streaked with black resin. This is jinki, the finest aloes wood, a treasure worth more than gold. You carry the wood to the center of the room where your primary tool awaits the yagen. It is a simple, brutal instrument. A heavy stone mortar shaped like a shallow boat, and a solid stone wheel, like a thick coin that fits within it, attached to a wooden handle. It is not beautiful, nor is it delicate. It is a tool of pure function, its granite surface pitted and smoothed by generations of use. You can feel the history in it as you run your hand over the cool stone. This yagen was your master's, and his masters before him. It has ground the same priceless woods for 100 years, and the fine dust of those ancient ingredients is still embedded deep within the stone's pores. You take a moment to simply feel its weight, its permanence. In a life's work dedicated to creating things that vanish into smoke, this stone is your anchor. It is the solid, unyielding reality upon which all that fleeting beauty is built. The work begins. Using a small, sharp knife, you carefully shave thin chips from the block of aloes wood. The process requires a surgeon's focus. You are not just cutting wood. You are following the dark, oily veins of resin that give the wood its value. This is not ordinary timber. Aloes wood's fragrance comes from a sickness, a fungal infection that causes the aquilaria tree to produce this dense, aromatic resin as a defense. It is a slow alchemy of decay and healing, a dark beauty born from a wound. The thought always brings a quiet sense of wonder to your mind. That something so coveted, so spiritually profound, begins as a flaw, an imperfection. It is a lesson the forest teaches again and again. You place a handful of the dark, thin chips into the belly of the stone mortar. You grasp the wooden handle of the roller. Your knuckles white for a moment as you feel the dead weight of the stone wheel. And then you begin to push. The first sound is a sharp, cracking protest. It is the sound of structure breaking, of solid form being destroyed. The effort sends a jarring vibration up your arms and into your shoulders. Your body, old and worn as it is, remembers this feeling well. It is the conversation of labor. You push the wheel forward and pull it back, and with each pass, the sharp cracking of the wood chip softens, giving way to a coarse, grinding scrape, forward and back. Forward and back. It is a rhythm that you fall into without thought, your breathing syncing with the movement of your arms. This is not the work of minutes, but of hours. As you work, the first true waves of scent begin to rise from the stone. It is not the subtle background aroma of the room, but a raw, potent, and complex fragrance being violently released from its wooden prison. At first, it is sharp, almost medicinal, with a bitter edge. But as you continue to grind, rocking the heavy stone wheel back and forth, the aroma deepens and transforms. That initial bitterness softens into a rich, balsamic sweetness, with underlying notes of spice and damp earth. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the scent fill your senses. You are not just grinding wood, you are releasing a spirit that has been sleeping for decades, perhaps centuries. The H begins in your lower back, a familiar, dull throb. Your shoulder joints protest with every push. You might imagine that such a delicate art would be performed with delicate tools. But the reality of traditional craft is a constant war against the resistance of natural materials. There are no machines to do this for you, no electric grinders to turn wood into powder in seconds. There is only the strength of your body, the weight of the stone, and the passage of time. And you understand, with a clarity that only comes from a lifetime of this labor, that the effort is part of the recipe. Your patience, your sweat, the H in your bones, these are invisible ingredients needed into the very soul of the final product. To bypass this struggle would be to create something hollow, something without history or heart. Hours pass. The sun creeps across the paper screen, its soft light moving from one side of the room to the other. The only sounds are the rhythmic shush and scrape of stone on wood dust, and your own steady breathing. The texture of the material in the mortar has changed completely. What began as brittle chips is now a mound of dark, heavy, slightly oily powder. You stop and run your fingers through it. You are not measuring by sight, but by feel. You are searching for a specific consistency, a fineness so absolute that the powder feels like cool silk against your skin. It is not ready yet. There are still stubborn grains that resist, tiny fragments that hold onto their solid form. So you continue, forward and back. The motion is your meditation. Your mind empties of everything but the task. You are no longer Kenji, the old man in the mountains. You are simply a part of a process, a bridge between a tree that lived a century ago and a column of smoke that will rise tomorrow. Finally, you feel the change. The resistance under the stone wheel vanishes, replaced by a smooth, almost liquid drag. The sound is now a soft, continuous whisper. You stop and test the powder again. It is perfect. You take a fine brush made of soft animal hair and carefully, meticulously, sweep every last particle of the precious aloeswood dust from the Jaeger into a simple ceramic bowl. Not a single grain can be wasted. Each one is a vessel of time and effort. You place the bowl to the side, and the air is thick with the wood's profound, contemplative scent. But the work is only half finished. A great incense blend is a harmony, a balance of contrasting and complementary notes. The deep, introspective character of the aloeswood needs a counterpart, a voice of brightness and clarity. You return to the wooden chest and retrieve your second ingredient. This is sandalwood, biokudan, from the distant shores of India. The logs are a pale, creamy yellow and feel smooth and cool in your hands. Compared to the gnarled, wounded aloeswood, the sandalwood seems serene, perfect, and whole. Its scent, even from the raw wood, is instantly calming, sweet, milky, and warm. You clean the Jaeger with a dry cloth, ensuring no trace of the aloeswood remains to contaminate the next step. You shave the pale sandalwood into the mortar and begin the grinding process anew. The experience is immediately different. The sound is softer, less of a crackle, and more of a crisp snap. The wood yields more easily under the stone wheel, and the physical effort required is less strenuous. The scent that rises is not a challenge, but an invitation. It is a clean, sacred sweetness that seems to purify the very air it touches. It does not demand introspection like the aloeswood. It offers peace. You work with the same patient rhythm, your body once again a living metronome. You think about the journey of this wood. You picture the hot, dry climate where it grew, so different from your own misty mountains. You imagine the merchants who carried it overland on dusty roads, the sailors who loaded it onto ships to cross turbulent seas, the traders who brought it to the capital, and finally, the long journey up the mountain paths to your small workshop. This single piece of wood in your hands is a tangible piece of the world, a story of travel and trade, of countless hands it has passed through to reach yours. And now, you are giving it its final purpose. You are transforming it from a worldly commodity into a spiritual offering. You are turning a story of the earth into a prayer for the heavens. When the sandalwood is ground to an impossibly fine, pale powder, you sweep it into its own bowl. You now have the two core elements of your blend sitting before you, one bowl of dark, mysterious dust and one of pale, serene light. You sit back on your heels, your body aching with a deep, satisfying weariness. The sunlight streaming through the shoji screen now illuminates an atmosphere that is denser than ever. The motes dancing in the light are no longer anonymous dust. You can see them clearly now, the dark, heavy particles of aloes wood and the lighter, paler grains of sandalwood, swirling together in the air, a preview of the harmony you hope to create. You have spent your entire day turning solid, tangible reality into this fragrant, weightless dust. You have unmade the world one grain at a time, so that it can be remade as something new, something ephemeral. The journey of these ancient materials is nearly complete, and as the sun begins its descent behind the mountains, you know that your part in that journey is just beginning. The rhythmic scrape and grind of stone on wood have fallen silent. For hours, the sound has been the only companion to the steady beat of your own heart, a meditative pulse filling the small workshop. Now, in the quiet aftermath, you can feel the faint vibration in your very bones begin to fade. Before you, the work of the day, of many days, lies complete. The raw materials, gathered with such care from the forest's embrace, have been transformed. They are no longer chips of fragrant aloes wood or slivers of pale sandalwood. They are now dust, a collection of fine, earthy powders, their spirits released and waiting. The sunlight, slanting through the paper shoji screen, catches the motes of this precious dust as they dance in the still air. Each one a tiny spark of potential, a memory of a distant land, a distant time. You feel a deep satisfaction, the quiet pride of a task done with patience and reverence. But this is merely the end of a beginning. The true art, the alchemy your master spent a lifetime teaching you, is about to commence. It is not an art of breaking down, but of building up. It is the art of giving form to fragrance, and it begins with the weight of water. You rise, your joints creaking in a familiar protest, and move to a low wooden shelf against the far wall. Your movements are slow, deliberate, honed by decades of repetition. You retrieve a large, shallow ceramic dish, its glaze the color of a winter sky just before snow. It is cool and heavy in your hands, the surface worn smooth by the touch of your master, and his master before him. Placing it on your work surface in the center of the room, you begin the careful process of arrangement. You do not simply dump the powders together. That would be a profanity. Instead, you treat each one as a unique voice in a chorus, giving it its own space before inviting it to join the song. First, you pour a small mound of the aloes wood powder. It is the base, the soul of the incense. The dust is almost black, rich and impossibly fine, and as it settles onto the pale ceramic, it releases a deep, complex aroma. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the scent transport you. This is not the simple smell of wood. It is the smell of a wound, of a tree's decades-long battle against infection, the fragrant resin it produces being its final, beautiful scar. This powder has traveled further than you ever will, from the humid jungles of the south, traded by merchants, carried across seas, a journey of years culminating in this quiet moment in your mountain workshop. To you, it doesn't smell of decay, but of resilience. Next, you add the sandalwood. It is a much paler dust, the color of soft cream, and its scent is the perfect counterpoint to the aloes wood's depth. Where the aloes wood is profound and meditative, the sandalwood is sweet, bright, and calming. It speaks of sun, baked earth, and patient, steady growth. You arrange it beside the darker powder, the two mounds distinct yet already in conversation. Your mind drifts to what your master called the jink. Go-hin, the 5 qualities of superior incense. This blend must be sharp but not overpowering, rich but not cloying, pure and not muddled. Each ingredient must be allowed to speak, yet none may shout over the others. Harmony is not born of chaos, but of respect. You then add the subtler notes, the spices and herbs that will guide the main fragrances. A pinch of ground cloves, dark and warm, for sharpness. A small measure of star anise for a hint of sweetness. A dusting of cassia bark, a cousin to cinnamon, for a comforting warmth that will bind the other scents together. Finally, you add the powder of ground moss, the very same you gathered from the granite stones shrouded in morning mist. Its color is a soft, earthy green, and it carries the scent of the mountain itself. Damp earth, cool stone, and the clean breath of the forest. This is your signature, the scent of this specific place, this valley you call home. You arrange these smaller mounds in a circle around the 2 central titans of aloes wood and sandalwood. The ceramic dish now looks like a cartographer's map of some forgotten, fragrant world. You understand, on a level deeper than words, that you are not merely mixing dust. You are composing a poem, tangible and yet destined to vanish into air. Before the final, most crucial step, you pause. Your gaze falls upon a small, unassuming cloth bag in the corner. Inside is the binder, the single ingredient that makes everything else possible. It is a fine, pale powder ground from the bark of the tabunoki tree, the bay tree. To a novice, it is the least impressive component. It has almost no scent of its own, a faint, clean woodiness that is easily lost. But you know its true power. Its magic is not in its aroma, but in its substance. When mixed with water, it becomes a neoelaginous, sticky agent, a natural glue that will hold all the other precious powders together, allowing them to be shaped and, more importantly, allowing them to burn slowly, steadily, releasing their story over time without the acrid smell of a fire burning too fast. Without the humble tabunoki, all you would have is a pile of fragrant dust, easily scattered by the slightest breeze. It is the peacemaker, the silent force that creates unity from diversity. Now it is time for the water. You do not use water from the rain barrel or the nearby stream. Tradition and the wisdom of your master demand something purer. You pick up a simple clay jug and step outside your workshop. The air is cool and clean, filled with the sound of wind rustling the high bamboo and the distant call of a mountain bird. You walk a well-worn path behind your small home, a path that leads to a small, moss-covered spring that seeps directly from the heart of the mountain. You kneel beside the grotto, listening to the gentle gurgle of the water as it wells up from the dark earth, filtered through countless layers of rock and sand. Your master taught you that this water is pure, untouched by the sorrows and struggles of the world above. It carries no memory but that of the deep, quiet stone. It is a perfect, neutral vessel, ready to receive the spirits of the fragrant woods. You fill your jug, the water so cold it makes the clay ache, and carry it back to your workshop with the reverence of a priest carrying a sacred offering. Back at your station, you pour a small amount of the spring water into a tiny ceramic dropper no bigger than your thumb. This is the moment where knowledge and practice give way to pure intuition. There is no written measure, no line on a cup. The amount of water needed changes with the humidity in the air, the age of the powders, the season of the year. It is a feeling, a deep and intimate understanding of your materials that can only be earned through a lifetime of touch. You take a breath, calming your mind, and let the first drop fall onto the center of the powders. It lands with an almost imperceptible hiss, a dark circle instantly blooming on the pale dust of the tabenoko. Then another drop, and another. You watch, utterly focused, as the water begins its work, pulling the fine particles together. Your master's voice echoes in your mind, a memory as clear as the water in your jug. "Too much water, Kenji," he would say, his voice firm but not unkind. "And you drown the scent. The fire will struggle and the smoke will be heavy and sad. Too little, and the stick will be brittle. It will crack in the drying and burn too quickly, screaming its fragrance instead of singing it." His words guide your hand now as you add the water, drop by precious drop, waiting to see how the powders respond before adding the next. Finally, you put the dropper down. The time for observation is over. Now, you must use your hands. You dip your weathered fingers into the dish. The blend of powders feels impossibly soft, like silk and fine sand. As you begin to stir, blending the colors together, the first true mingling of aromas begins. The deeper rosewood, the sweet sandalwood, the warm spices, the cool moss. They are no longer separate voices, but the beginnings of a chord, a complex scent that has never existed before this moment. You work the mixture gently, folding the dry parts into the damp, until it begins to resemble a coarse, crumbly soil. Then begins the kneading. You press the heel of your hand into the mixture, feeling it begin to give and cohere. The physical effort is familiar, a comforting ache that spreads from your wrist up your arm. This is where your own spirit enters the incense. The ancient recipe is not yours. The woods and spices were grown by the earth, not by you. The water is a gift from the mountain. But the pressure of your hands, the warmth of your skin, the unique and unrepeatable rhythm of your kneading, that is yours alone. An old question surfaces in your mind, one that has troubled you for years. Are you merely a vessel for this tradition, a caretaker of an ancient formula, doomed to repeat the past perfectly? Or are you a creator in your own right? As you knead, you feel the dough begin to change. It is a living thing beneath your palms. The initial resistance softens, the grittiness disappears, and a smooth, pliable cohesion emerges. This is the magic of the tabenoko binder awakening. The color of the dough deepens to a uniform, rich brown, like the fertile earth of the forest floor after a cleansing rain. The fragrance, too, matures. It is no longer a collection of scents, but a single, unified whole. It fills the small room, a perfume that is both grounding and elevating, ancient and yet brand new. You press and fold, your movements economical, wasting no energy. You can feel the precise moment that transformation becomes complete. The dough is now firm but yielding, holding its shape without being stiff, retaining moisture without being sticky. It has the consistency, your master used to say, of a perfectly formed earlobe. You stop. You gather the fragrant dough into a single, smooth sphere and hold it in your cupped hands. It is warm from your work, and it feels solid, real, a tangible thing born of ephemeral dust and fleeting water. You look at your hands, stained with the dark oils of the wood, the skin calloused and creased with the lines of a long life dedicated to this single, quiet art. In this moment, holding this perfect sphere of possibility, you realize the answer to your question. You are both. You are a vessel, honoring the river of tradition that has flowed through generations to reach you. But you are also the water you added from the mountain spring, a unique part of this specific day, this specific moment. You have not just copied a recipe, you have participated in it. You have guided these ancient ingredients, listened to them, and brought your own quiet spirit to their union. The incense in your hands holds the memory of ancient forests and distant seas, but it also holds the memory of your touch. And that is enough. The weight of the dough in your hands is a living thing, a dense and fragrant promise. Just moments ago, it was nothing but a collection of powders, the dust of distant trees, the memory of moss, the ghost of dried herbs. But with the slow, patient addition of pure mountain water, drop by single drop, you have brought it to life. The question that lingered in your mind as you kneaded, the question of tradition versus your own touch, seems to have settled. You are not merely a vessel repeating an ancient formula, you are a participant. The water you added, the pressure of your hands, the very warmth from your skin, they are now part of this creation. The dough holds not just the spirit of the wood, but a small, quiet piece of your own. Now, that life must be given form. You carry the smooth, dark mass from the blending bowl to your workbench, the place where potential is finally shaped into purpose. Your workbench is not grand. It is a thick slab of hinoki cypress, worn smooth and dark in the center from a lifetime of focused work. Its surface is scarred with the faint lines of 1,000 cuts and polished by the friction of 1,000,000 repetitive motions. It is more a part of you than a piece of furniture. You take a portion of the incense dough, rolling it gently between your palms until it forms a perfect, seamless cylinder. The texture is sublime, cooler than your skin, yielding but not sticky, firm but not hard. It feels like dense, damp earth. The fragrance that rises from it is still raw and green, a complex chord of scents that have not yet learned to sing in harmony. You place the cylinder into the cradle of your simplest, most trusted tool. It is a small, handcrafted wooden press, little more than a hollowed block of wood and a fitted plunger. No gears, no levers, no complex mechanics. It relies on one thing: the steady, educated pressure of your own hands. You wrap your fingers around the press, your thumb positioned on the back of the plunger. You take a slow, deep breath, centering yourself. The world outside your workshop, the rustle of bamboo in the breeze, the distant call of a mountain bird, fades away. There is only the tool in your hands and the task it must perform. You begin to push and you immediately feel the resistance. This is the moment of truth. Too much force, and the resulting stick will be dense and burn poorly. Too little, and it will be fragile, crumbling before it can ever serve its purpose. You don't think about it with your mind, your hands know the way. They feel the subtle shift as the initial resistance gives way to a smooth, controlled flow. From a small, perfectly round hole at the end of the press, a slender, dark line of incense begins to emerge. It is a slow, silent birth. You watch its progress with an unwavering gaze, your pressure absolutely constant. The stick grows, straight and true, extending over the edge of the workbench into the empty air. It is an exercise in extreme patience. A modern mind would scream for a machine, for a way to produce 100 of these in the time it takes you to make one. You would be horrified by such a thought. The speed of a machine would introduce stresses, tiny fractures, an impatience into the very structure of the incense. It would not have time to breathe. Your slowness is not inefficient, it is a vital ingredient. You are not just extruding dough, you are guiding it. With each inch that emerges, you are imparting a sense of calm, of deliberate and unhurried purpose. When the stick reaches the perfect length, a matter you judge by eye and feel alone, you cease the pressure. With a thin, sharpened bamboo sliver, you make a quick, clean slice. The first stick is complete. You pick it up with a reverence others might reserve for a jewel. It is delicate, vulnerable. You roll it gently onto a long, shallow wooden tray lined with a clean sheet of washi rice paper. The paper is crucial. If you were to lay the damp stick directly on the wood, it would adhere, its form distorted, when you tried to lift it. The rice paper, however, is porous. It will gently cushion the incense, while helping to wick away the initial surface moisture, preventing it from sticking and ensuring the drying process begins evenly. You place the stick perfectly parallel to the edge of the tray. Then you take another portion of dough, load the press, and begin again. The process repeats, over and over, until it becomes a silent, moving meditation. Push, extrude, slice, place. Push, extrude, slice, place. The world shrinks to the feel of the plunger under your thumb, the sight of the dark line growing in the still air, the soft touch of the completed stick on your fingertips. Your workshop fills with the quiet, rhythmic sounds of your labor, the soft scrape of the bamboo sliver, the gentle rustle of the incense stick being laid on paper. A faint, earthy aroma begins to permeate the air, the collective breath of all the raw ingredients just beginning their transformation. With each stick you form, a line of a silent poem is written on the waiting trays. By midday, several trays are filled, each holding dozens of identical sticks, spaced apart with the precision of a master calligrapher. This spacing is not merely for aesthetics. Air must be allowed to circulate freely around every single stick. If they were to touch, the moisture trapped between them would create a weak point, a place where the scent would not cure correctly, a flaw in the final experience. Every detail, no matter how small, matters. Now comes the next stage of the journey. You lift the first completed tray, one hand on each side, balancing it with a practiced ease. Your movements are slow, deliberate. A sudden jolt could mar the soft surfaces of the sticks or cause them to roll into one another, undoing hours of careful work. You carry the tray as if it were a sacred offering, walking from the sunlit space of your main workshop towards a small, unassuming door at the back. As you slide the door open, a wave of cool, slightly musty air washes over you. You have entered the curing room. This chamber is the womb of your creations. It is small, dark, and cool. There are no windows to let in the harsh, damaging rays of the sun, which would dry the incense too quickly, causing it to crack and warp. Instead, the walls are thick, made of packed earth and plaster, which act as a natural insulator, keeping the temperature remarkably stable regardless of the heat or chill outside. The air inside smells of damp clay, old wood, and the lingering, ghostly fragrances of countless batches of incense that have rested here over the decades. Along the walls are simple wooden racks, built to hold the trays in stacked layers from floor to ceiling. You slide the tray onto an empty shelf, your movements hushed. The dim light filtering in from the open door is just enough to see by. You go back for the next tray and the next, repeating the short, reverent journey until all the newly formed incense is resting in the cool, quiet dark. When the last tray is in place, you stand for a moment at the threshold. You are committing your work not to your own hands any longer, but to a force far more subtle and powerful, time. You slide the door shut, and the room is plunged into a profound, peaceful darkness. The loudest part of your work is now complete. The quietest, and perhaps most important, is about to begin. The days that follow are a lesson in enforced stillness. You do not mark your calendar. You do not count the hours. You feel the passage of time in the shifting quality of light that filters through the paper shoji screens of your workshop. You watch the sun trace its long, slow arc across the sky, its morning light a crisp, cool white that mellows into a warm, golden honey in the late afternoon. You become an observer of subtleties. You notice the way the dust motes dance in a sunbeam, a silent, swirling galaxy in the still air. You are waiting, and this period of waiting has a deep and profound purpose. In the modern world, waiting is often seen as wasted time, a frustrating void between activities. For you, it is an activity in itself, It is a state of being that mirrors what is happening in the curing room. While the incense sticks are slowly, invisibly releasing their moisture and allowing their complex scents to meld and mature, you are performing a similar process with your own spirit, settling into a state of quiet anticipation. To an outsider, your days would seem empty. You spend one entire afternoon mending your tools. You take up the small brass spatula you use for portioning fine powders. The wooden handle has become loose with years of use. You do not consider throwing it away. That would be like discarding a trusted old friend. Instead, you carefully unwind the old binding, clean the wood and the brass tang, and apply a tiny drop of rice glue. Then, with a new length of fine silk cord, you begin to wrap the handle, your fingers performing the intricate knots from memory. The tool is an extension of your hand, and its history is intertwined with yours. Every dent in the brass, every stain on the wood, is a memory of a past creation. By mending it, you honor that history and prepare it for a future you have yet to imagine. This slow, careful work anchors you in the present, your full attention on the simple, tangible task before you. Another day, the clouds roll in from the sea, blanketing the mountain in a soft, grey mist. The rain begins, not as a storm, but as a gentle, persistent drumming on the thatched roof of your workshop. It is a sound you have known your entire life, a rhythm that is as familiar and comforting as your own heartbeat. You do not see this as a gloomy day that keeps you indoors. You slide open a shoji screen just enough to watch. You observe the way the rain darkens the bark of the ancient cedar outside, how it drips from the tips of the pine needles in a series of shimmering, transient jewels. You watch it form tiny, fleeting streams in the moss garden you tend beside your door. Your mind connects this water to the spring water you use to bind the incense dough. It is all part of the same great cycle. The rain nourishes the forest provides the wood and herbs. You gather them and give them a new form, and their smoke will eventually return to the air, becoming as intangible as the mist that now shrouds your home. You feel a deep comfort in this connection, a profound sense of your small, quiet place within a vast, interconnected world. This is not boredom, it is a communion. There are also long stretches where you simply sit. You assume the formal Caesar position on a woven tatami mat in the center of your workshop, your back straight, your hands resting on your thighs. You do not meditate in a formal sense, seeking enlightenment or emptying your mind. You simply sit. You breathe. You listen to the quiet sounds of your house settling. You feel the coolness of the floor through the mat. You are not fighting off thoughts or striving for some higher state. You are practicing the art of being present. You are allowing the world to be exactly as it is, without needing to change it, to act upon it, or to fill its silence with noise. You know that a person from the future would find this unbearable. They would reach for a device, a book, a distraction, anything to escape the perceived emptiness of the moment. Their minds, accustomed to a constant barrage of information and stimulation, would rebel against the stillness. But you understand something they have forgotten. You understand that the final character of your incense is being shaped not by your action, but by this very stillness. Time and patience are the final ingredients. If your own spirit were agitated and impatient, that energy would somehow, inexplicably, find its way into your creation. The incense demands a partner in its quiet transformation, and so you provide it. You find a deep and abiding comfort in this forced quiet, a peace that comes from surrendering to a process larger than yourself. Weeks pass in this slow, rhythmic pattern of observation and quiet maintenance. You feel a subtle shift, not one you can measure, but one you know in your bones. The air from the curing room, when you pass by the door, seems to have changed. The raw, soft green scent of the fresh dough has mellowed, deepened. A new warmth is emerging, a hint of the final, complex perfume that is waiting to be released. The waiting is almost over. The long, quiet darkness has done its work. The silence has served its purpose. Soon, it will be time to invite one of the slender sticks back into the light, to introduce it to fire, and to finally listen to what it has to say. The weeks of quiet have settled into your bones, becoming as much a part of you as the gentle ache in your knuckles on a cold morning. The rain, your constant companion during the long wait, has finally ceased its drumming on the thatched roof. That period of enforced stillness, of watching the light shift and mending tools, whose purpose is action, has served its purpose. It has cleansed your mind, scraped away the residue of impatience, and left only a focused calm. The incense has rested, sleeping in the cool, dark air of the curing room, its myriad voices slowly learning to speak as one. You spent that time in observation, understanding that some things are not shaped by doing, but by the simple, heavy passage of time. Now, that time has passed. Tonight, the air is different. It is perfectly still, holding the crisp scent of the pines after a cleansing rain, and the sky outside your paper screens is a deep, cloudless indigo, pricked with the first sharp stars of evening. It is time. Your movements are slow as you rise from the simple mat where you took your evening meal. There is no sense of hurry, no frantic energy of a project's completion. That is the way of the world beyond this mountain, a world of deadlines and demands. Here, a thing is ready when it is ready. You slide open the wooden door to the curing room, and the air that greets you is cool and intensely fragrant. It is the concentrated breath of all your work, the deep, resonant perfume of aloes wood, the creamy warmth of sandalwood, the sharp green whisper of moss and cypress, all woven together. For weeks, they have shared this small space, their scents mingling, maturing, becoming something more than the sum of their parts. You run your weathered hand over the top tray. The slender sticks are bone, dry, hard and brittle to the touch, their color a deep, uniform earthen brown. This texture is a language you understand. It tells you the moisture from the spring water has gone, leaving behind only the precious oils and resins, a potential energy waiting for the release of fire. You select a single stick. It feels impossibly light in your palm, a delicate sliver of solidified time and forest. You carry it not to your workshop with its dust and tools of labor, but to the small, sparse room you keep for tea and contemplation. The space is empty, deliberately so. There is nothing to distract the eye or the mind. The tatami mats under your bare feet are cool and smell faintly of dry grass. You kneel on a simple cushion before the tokonoma, the small alcove that is the room's single point of focus. In it, there is no ornate painting, only a single, dark, unadorned vase holding a branch of mountain maple, its leaves now a fiery crimson. The room is a vessel, waiting to be filled. First you light a candle, the flint and steel spark in the growing dark, catching on a piece of char cloth. A tiny flame blossoms, and you touch it to the wick of a simple tallow candle on a low stand. The light is soft, a warm, living glow that pushes back the shadows but does not banish them, making the corners of the room deep and mysterious. The candlelight flickers across the paper of the shoji screen, turning it into a sheet of warm, translucent gold. The world outside vanishes, and your universe shrinks to the size of this tranquil space. From a small ceramic box, you take the kōdō, the incense burner. It is a simple, heavy piece of dark bisonware, its surface unglazed and rough like the mountain stone it came from. You fill it with fine, white ash, tamping it down gently with a small metal press until the surface is perfectly smooth and level, a pristine white field. This, too, is part of the ritual. Preparing a perfect bed for the incense is a sign of respect for the journey, it has taken. You use a small pair of metal chopsticks, koji, to create a small indentation in the center. Every movement is precise, honed by tens of thousands of repetitions, until your hands perform the ritual without conscious thought, allowing your mind to remain still and open. Now, for the stick itself. You hold it to the candle's flame. The tip blackens, then catches, blossoming into a tiny, bright orange flower of fire. You do not let it burn for long. To do so would be to scorch the delicate oils, to release a coarse, smoky stench instead of a true fragrance. This is a mistake of the impatient, a mistake your master drilled out of you decades ago. After only a moment, you lift the stick away from the flame and, with a gentle, deliberate wave of your hand, you extinguish the fire. The tiny flame vanishes, leaving behind a single, brilliant red ember, a glowing seed of latent scent. A wisp of smoke, thicker than what will follow, rises and is gone. You carefully place the non-burning end of the stick into the indentation you made in the ash, planting it upright in the pristine white field. And then you wait. You settle back onto your heels, your spine straight, your hands resting on your thighs. Your breath is slow and even. You watch. For a long moment, the world is utterly silent, the only movement the gentle, hypnotic dance of the candle flame. Then, from the glowing red tip of the incense stick, a single, impossibly thin thread of pale grey smoke begins to rise. In the dead, still air of the room, it does not billow or waver. It ascends in a perfectly straight, vertical line, a fragile pillar connecting the earth of the burner to the unseen air above. It is a breathtaking, transient sculpture. You follow its path upward until, several feet above its source, it loses its form and integrity, unfurling into soft, lazy curls and eddies, spreading out to perfume the room. You close your eyes. The work of sight is done. The work of scent is about to begin. You consciously quiet your mind, pushing away any thoughts of evaluation or judgment. You are not here to critique your own work, to analyze its flaws or successes. You are here only to experience it, to listen to what it has to say. The first hint of fragrance that reaches you is subtle. It is not the deep, complex chord you are expecting, but a single high, clean note. It is the scent of the tabunoki bark, the binding agent that holds the other powders together. On its own, it has a faint, slightly sweet and woody aroma, and it is always the first to be released by the heat. It is the opening line, the humble introduction before the main story begins. It speaks of structure, the unseen framework that allows beauty to take form. You breathe it in, acknowledge it, and let it pass. Your master's voice echoes in your memory, a quiet murmur across the years. Even the thing that holds it together has a spirit, Kenji. Do not ignore it. A minute passes. The ember continues its slow, steady consumption of the stick. Now, the heart of the fragrance begins to open up, like a flower unfurling its petals in the morning sun. The sharp, clean scent of the cypress arrives, the same scent you smelled when you peeled the bark from a fallen giant in the misty forest. It is brisk and clarifying, the scent of high mountain air and ancient, enduring trees. It is quickly followed by the sandalwood, a scent you have known your whole life. But this is not the rough, hewn scent of a raw log. It is the fine, powdered heartwood, and its fragrance is creamy, smooth, and deeply comforting. It is a scent of pure tranquility, of quiet temples and sun-warmed wood. It smells of peace. You can almost feel the rhythmic grind of the mortar and pestle in your hands. See the dust motes dancing in the sunbeam that cut across your workshop. These are the scents of your labor, the tangible aromas of the forest and the long hours of preparation. They are familiar, honest, and beautiful. But you continue to wait, breathing slowly, for you know there is more. The true soul of the incense has yet to speak. And then it does. It arrives not as a wave, but as a subtle deepening of the air. It is the aloeswood, the legendary jink. Its fragrance is unlike any other on earth. It is dark, rich, and profoundly complex. It is not simply woody. It carries within it hints of bitter herbs, sweet resin, damp earth, and something else. Something almost animalic and deeply ancient. It is a scent that seems to hold the weight of years within it. The story of the wounded tree that fought for decades to create this precious, aromatic heart. It fills the small room, subsuming the other scents not by overpowering them, but by giving them depth and context. The cypress becomes sharper against its darkness, the sandalwood creamier against its bitterness. The scent is no longer a collection of notes, but a single, harmonious whole. It is a scent that seems to bypass the nose and resonate directly in the center of your chest. And with it comes the memory. It is not something you consciously summon. It rises unbidden, unlocked by the key of the scent. The fragrance on the air suddenly carries another note and phantom trace of salt and sea spray. The memory is intensely vivid, as clear as the view of the mountains from your doorway. You are a small boy again, no more than 6 years old. You are standing not on a mountain, but on a weathered wooden pier by the sea, a place you have not seen in 70 years. Your hand is held tight in the large, calloused hand of your father. The air is cool, and the sky is the color of a pearl. Below you, the green water of the harbor laps against the thick wooden pilings of the pier, which are dark with water and dotted with barnacles. The air smells of salt, of wet wood, of drying fishing nets, and of incense. From a small shrine at the edge of the fishing village, a plume of smoke is rising, carrying the scent of burning aloeswood. It is the scent of a prayer for a safe return, an offering for a bountiful catch. The sacred fragrance from the temple is mingling with the raw, salty, earthy smells of the working harbor. In your memory, you look up at your father. He is not looking at the sea, but at you, and on his face is a gentle, quiet smile. He squeezes your hand. He says nothing. The moment is perfect, a small, crystalline fragment of time where everything, the sound of the water, the scent of the world, the warmth of your father's hand, is in perfect harmony. It is a feeling of absolute safety, of belonging, of a love so deep and quiet it needs no words. You sit in the darkness of your tea room, a man of 80 years, and the tears begin to well in your eyes. The memory is so powerful, so complete, yet it lasts for only a breath. Like the column of smoke, it rises perfect and whole, and then it gently unfurls and dissipates, leaving only a profound and bittersweet ache behind. And in that moment, in the echoing silence of the vanished vision, you understand. You have spent your entire life in pursuit of this, to capture a feeling, a moment, a memory, and lock it within a stick of incense. You have worked with tangible things, wood, resin, bark, water, believing your purpose was to create a perfect, tangible object. You see now that you were wrong. The stick in your hand, now more than half consumed, is not the art. The carefully blended powders, the patient curing, the precise ritual, none of that is the final purpose. The stick is merely a key. Its entire existence, from the living tree to the dust in your mortar to the finished form, is for this single purpose, to be destroyed. Its perfection is realized only in the moment it vanishes, turning from solid matter into a column of smoke and ash, releasing the intangible scent that can unlock a door deep within the soul. You did not create a memory. You created a key to a memory that was already there, dormant and waiting. The physical object you labored over is worthless except in its own destruction. Its only meaning is to create a fleeting, ephemeral experience, a feeling that cannot be held, owned, or preserved. You open your eyes. The incense stick is nearly gone, a final fragile wisp of smoke rising from the glowing tip. The air in the room is thick with its ghost, a fragrance that has evoked a moment of perfect, heartbreaking beauty. You look at the sliver of ash tilting in the burner. You have created something that exists only to disappear, and in that disappearance, you have found the truth of your life's work. The joy is not in the making or the having. It is in the letting go. A profound peace, deeper than any you have ever known, settles over you, as gentle and as total as the fragrant smoke that now fills the still, quiet room. The last whisper of smoke from your test has long since vanished, but the feeling it conjured remains inside you, a perfect, weightless echo. The scent, a key you spent weeks forging, had unlocked a door to a time you thought was lost forever, a brief, sun-drenched memory of your childhood by the sea, a place you have not seen in 60 years. In that quiet, solitary moment, you finally understood. The tangible stick, the powders and resins, the long days of waiting, they were never the point. They were merely a vessel, a carefully constructed boat designed to carry a single, intangible passenger across the river of time. The boat itself was destined to be consumed by its journey, leaving only the passenger, a feeling, a memory, a fleeting moment of grace. Now, as dusk bleeds purple and gray into the mountain valleys, a new sound joins the soft, meditative drumming of rain on the workshop's cedar, shingled roof. It is the sound that always heralds the completion of your work, the turning of another season in the long, quiet autumn of your life. The sound is not loud. It is a gentle, rhythmic crunch on the wet gravel of the path that leads to your door. You have heard it 1,000 times before. It is the sound of purpose arriving. You do not rush. Every movement you make is deliberate, honed by decades of stripping away all that is unnecessary. You place your hands on the woven tatami mats, feeling the cool, dry straw beneath your palms, and push yourself to your feet. Your old bones protest with a quiet chorus of clicks and creaks, a familiar song of a body long used. The floorboards, polished smooth by the passage of your own feet countless times, feel solid and cool as you cross the main room. The air smells of rain, of damp earth, and of the ghost of sandalwood that seems to have permanently steeped itself into the wooden walls of your home. You reach the heavy cypress door and slide it open, the wood groaning softly in its track, a sound like a contented sigh. There he stands, a still figure in the deepening twilight. The young monk from the temple on the next mountain. He is a silhouette against the mist-choked forest, his dark robes soaked and clinging to his slight frame. In one hand, he holds a simple paper lantern, a single candle flame inside casting a warm, trembling golden light that pushes back against the encroaching gloom. The light catches the thousands of tiny raindrops suspended in the air, turning the mist into a glittering veil. Rain drips from the sharp line of his shaven head and traces paths down his serene, unlined face. He holds your gaze for only a moment before lowering his head in a shallow, respectful bow. You see he carries nothing else, his other hand held loosely at his side. He has come for your offering. He never speaks. He never has. In all the years he has been making this journey, not a single word has ever passed between you, yet you understand each other perfectly. His presence is the question, your work is the answer. You return his bow, a deeper one, bending from the waist with the slow grace of age. You are the elder, the master of your craft, but he is a servant of something larger, a conduit to the spiritual world your incense is destined for. It is a respect for his path, for the quiet devotion that drives him down this lonely mountain trail in the rain, season after season. You step back and gesture for him to enter, to take shelter from the persistent drizzle. He steps inside, leaving his wet sandals perfectly aligned on the flat stone, just outside the threshold. The air he brings in with him is cool and clean, smelling of wet leaves and stone. The soft, warm light of his lantern changes the character of your workshop, making the familiar shadows dance and softening the hard edges of your tools and workbenches. You do not offer him tea. This is not a social visit. This is a transaction of the spirit, a sacred handover that has its own unwritten rituals. You turn and walk toward the small, elevated shelf in the corner of the room, the place you reserve for finished work. There sits a single, small box. It is not made of lacquered cherry wood or rare paulownia. It is a simple, unassuming container of plain, dark cedar, its grain straight and true. Inside, bundled together and wrapped in soft rice paper, lies your newest creation. The physical culmination of the last several weeks of your life. All the walks in the forest, the grinding in the mortar, the patient kneading with mountain water, the long, silent wait in the curing room. It has all been compressed into these fragile, slender sticks. You take the box down from the shelf. For a moment, you simply hold it in both hands, feeling its negligible weight. It feels like nothing, yet it contains so much. Before you give it to him, there is one final act to perform. It must be properly wrapped. This final layer is not for protection, but for reverence. You place the box on your main workbench, its surface worn into a smooth, dark patina by a lifetime of labor. From a drawer beneath it, you retrieve a single, large sheet of washi paper. You pause to look at the paper, your creation, for a moment. This isn't the crisp, bleached, white paper of modern times. You can see the long, delicate fibers of the kōdō plant embedded within its very structure, like veins on a leaf. It is soft to the touch, yet surprisingly strong. Its color is not a pure white, but a warm, creamy ivory, a natural hue that speaks of the plant it came from and the clear water used to make it. Holding it up, you can see how light filters through it, revealing its texture and its soul. To you, the paper itself is a work of art, a product of patience and natural materials, just like your incense. It is the proper skin for such a creation. You lay the paper flat on the bench, aligning its edge perfectly with the edge of the workbench. A universe of possibilities exists in this flat, empty plane, but your task is to find the one perfect form within it. You place the cedar box in the very center. Then, your work begins. Your hands, gnarled and spotted with age, move with a startling precision and economy. They seem to possess a memory all their own, a wisdom separate from your mind. There is no hesitation, no fumbling, no wasted motion. You bring one corner of the paper up and over the box, pulling it taut. Your thumbnail creates the first sharp crease, a sound like a dry leaf whispering. You fold the sides in, each fold sharp and exact, creating clean, geometric lines. This is not the complicated, decorative wrapping of gifts exchanged at the imperial court in Heian-era, a place you have only ever heard about in stories. There, they use brightly colored papers and tie elaborate knots with silk cords, each knot holding a different, complex meaning. Your wrapping is different. It is born of the mountains, of a philosophy that finds beauty not in addition, but in subtraction. Its elegance comes from its absolute simplicity. Each fold has a purpose. Each line is clean and honest. It is a style of presentation that honors the object within by not trying to outshine it. As you fold, your mind drifts. You think about the journey of the incense you are now encasing. It will travel with the monk back up the wet, winding path to his temple. There on the main altar, before a great gilded statue of the Buddha, a monk will light one of your sticks. Perhaps it will be during the early morning meditation, when the air is cold and the minds of the monks are still and clear. The smoke will rise, a slender thread of fragrance connecting the earthy floor to the high, dark rafters of the temple hall. The scent will fill the space, and the monks will breathe it in. They will not know your name. They will not know of your small workshop, your solitary life, or the 60-year-old memory of the sea that this specific scent unlocked for you. they will have no concept of the fallen cypress you found, or the specific moss you gathered from a sun-dappled stone. All of that, your entire process, your life's work, will be utterly invisible to them. They will know only the scent itself, and for each of them, it will mean something different. For one, it might quiet a restless mind. For another, it might deepen their focus on the void. For a third, it might, just might, unlock a fleeting memory of their own, a brief, unexpected moment of grace from their own past. You have made the final fold. The paper now holds the box in a perfect, seamless embrace. There is no need for string or glue. The tension of the folds themselves holds the package together. It is complete. A simple, beautiful object, a silent promise of the ephemeral beauty held within. You pick it up. It still feels like nothing in your hands, yet now it is sealed. It is no longer truly yours. Its purpose lies beyond these walls. You turn back to the young monk, who has been standing perfectly still, a silent, patient witness to your small ritual. His lantern rests on the floor beside him, its warm light pooling around his feet. You hold the wrapped package out to him with both hands, a sign of respect and offering. His own hands come up to receive it, his cool, slender fingers brushing against your dry, wrinkled ones for a fleeting instant. It is the only physical contact you will share. He takes the box and holds it for a moment, then tucks it safely within the deep sleeve of his robe, protecting it from the rain that awaits him outside. Then you both bow. It is deeper this time, more formal. His head lowers, yours lowers. No words are needed. In this shared silence, everything is communicated. His bow says, "Thank you for your work. It will serve a sacred purpose." Your bow says, "Thank you for your journey. Please accept this humble offering." It is a language of pure intent, more honest and profound than any spoken word. When you rise, he is already turning towards the door. He picks up his lantern, the flame inside fluttering wildly for a moment, and slides the cypress door open. The sound of the rain rushes in to fill the silence, a steady, soothing shush that has been the backdrop to your entire lives. He slips his feet back into his wet sandals, turns, and offers one last, quick bow from the stone step. Then he is gone, merging back into the damp, misty twilight from which he came. You do not close the door immediately. You stand at the threshold, the cool, moist air bathing your face, and watch him leave. All you can see is the small, warm circle of light from his lantern, a single golden orb floating through the immense, breathing darkness of the mountain forest. You watch as it moves steadily down the path, growing smaller and smaller. It bobs and sways with his gait, a tiny, fragile star against the gathering night. The mist is thick, and it doesn't take long for the forest to reclaim him. The light becomes a faint, fuzzy glow, and then, as he rounds a bend in the path, it winks out and is gone entirely. He has been swallowed by the landscape. The only sound left is the rain, falling on the trees, on the roof, on the path where he just walked. It is as if he was never there at all. Finally, you slide the door shut. The sound is a soft, final thud, enclosing you once more in your solitude. You turn and survey your workshop. The space feels different now. It feels larger, emptier. The workbench is clear. The shelf for finished work is bare. The tools hang silent and still in their designated places. The curing room, if you were to look inside, holds nothing but empty wooden trays. The cycle is complete. The air in the room, you realize, is almost perfectly neutral. The lingering ghost of sandalwood and aloeswood that you thought was permanent has been washed away by the clean, rain-scented air from the open door. All that is left is the faintest trace, a subtle hint of fragrance, so delicate that you might be imagining it. The physical evidence of your creation is gone. The scent is gone. The person who came to collect it is gone. And in this emptiness, you do not feel loss. You do not feel loneliness. Instead, a profound and overwhelming sense of peace settles over you, as gentle and as total as the mist settling into the valleys outside. You feel a lightness in your chest, a quiet joy. You finally understand the lesson your old master tried to teach you all those years ago, a lesson that has taken you a lifetime to truly comprehend. Your purpose is not to capture a scent, to bottle it and keep it forever. That is impossible. To do so would be to kill it. Your purpose is not to cling to a memory, to try and live within its fading light. That is a path to sorrow. Your true purpose, your life's work, is to be a channel. To gather the chaotic beauty of the world, the forest, the sea, the earth, and to give it a quiet, harmonious voice. And then, you must let it go. You create these tangible, fragile sticks not to be owned or possessed, but to be burned, to be transformed into something intangible and free. You spend your life making things that exist only to vanish. Your offerings are not for a shelf or a collection. They are a gift for the wind, an offering to the currents of time, as fleeting and as beautiful as a column of smoke rising in a still room, carrying a silent prayer into the vast, open sky.